Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare
Jaya Prabhupada, Jaya Prabhupada, Jaya Prabhupada, Srila Prabhupada. Jai Radha Madhava ki, Prabhupada ki. Jai Om Vishnupada Brahmansa Parirajacharya Satra Satyashamadesi Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada ki, Ananta Gutti Vaishnavanda ki, Grantara Srimad Bhagavatam ki, Jai Guru Premanande, Glory Sri Assembled Devotees, all Glory Sri Assembled Devotees, all Glory Sri Assembled Devotees, all Glory Sri Shishi Guru and Gauranga, all Glory Sri Srila Prabhupada. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. 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 Narayanam namaskrityam naram chaiva narottamam devim saraswatim vyasam tato jaya udiraye nashta prayeshu abhadreshu nityam bhagavata sevaya bhagavati uttama shloke bhaktir bhavati naishtiki. So we're reading from Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 5, Chapter 1, text 10. I'll just read the Sanskrit and we can go to the word to word. Bhagavan api bharat tat upanitarnaha shukta vakena titaram udita guna gana vatara sujayaha priyavratam adipurushastam satya hasavaloki iti hovachaha. Bhagavan, Lord Brahma, api, moreover, Bharata, O King Parikshit, Tat, by them, Upanita, brought forward, Arahana, worshipable paraphernalia, Shukta, according to the Vedic etiquette, Vakena, by language, Atitaram, highly, Udita, praised, Gunagana, qualities, Avatara, because of the descent, Sujayaha, whose glories, Priyavratam, unto Priyavrata, Adipurushaha, the original person, Tam, unto him, Sadaya, with compassion, Hasa, smiling, Avalokaha, Who's looking? Iti das. Ha. Certainly. Uvacha. Said. Translation and purport by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. My dear King Parikshit, because Lord Brahma had finally descended from Satyaloka to Bhuloka, Narada Muni, Prince Vriyavrata and Swayambhu Manu came forward to offer him objects of worship and to praise him in highly qualified language, according to the Vedic etiquette. At that time, Lord Brahma, the original person of this universe, felt compassion for Priyavrata and looking upon him with a smiling face, spoke to him as follows. Purport. That Lord Brahma descended from Satyaloka to see Priyavrata indicates that the matter was very serious. Narada Muni had come to advise Priyavrata about the value of spiritual life, knowledge, renunciation and bhakti, and Lord Brahma knew that Narada's instructions were very impressive. Therefore, unless Lord Brahma personally went to Gandhamandana hill to request Priyavrata, Lord Brahma knew that Prince Priyavrata would not accept his father's order. Brahma's purpose was to break Priyavrata's determination. Therefore, Brahma first looked upon Priyavrata with compassion. His smile and compassion features also indicate that although Brahma would request Priyavrata to accept household life, Priyavrata would not be out of touch with devotional service. By the blessing of a Vaishnava, everything is possible. This is described in Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu as Kripa Siddhi, or perfection attained simply by the blessings of a superior person. One usually becomes liberated and perfect by executing the regulative principles set down in the Shastra. Nonetheless, many persons have achieved perfection simply by the blessings of a spiritual master or superior. Priyavrata was the grandson of Lord Brahma, and as joking competition sometimes takes place between grandson and grandfather, in this case also Priyavrata was determined to remain in meditation, whereas Brahma was determined that he rule the universe. Thus Lord Brahma's affectionate smile and glance meant, "My dear Priyavrata, you have decided not to accept household life, but I have decided to convince you that you must accept it." Actually, Brahma had come to praise Priyavrata for his high standard of renunciation, austerity, penances, devotion, so that he would not be deviating from devotional service, even though he would accept household life. In this verse, one important verse is Sukta Vakena by Vedic hymns. In the Vedas, there is the following prayers of Lord Brahma: Hiranyagarbha Sama Varta Tagre Bhutasya Yatta Patir Eka Asit. Brahma was received with the appropriate Vedic hymns, and because he was welcomed according to the Vedic etiquette, he was very pleased. Om Ajnana Timirandasya Gnanjana Shalakaya Chakshur Unmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Shri Chaitanya Namo Bhistam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Gadamayam Dadati Svapadantikam Vanchakalpatarubhyascha Kripa Sindhubhya Evacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha. Jai Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhari Shri Vasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda. Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare. Text again. My dear King Parikshit, because Lord Brahma had finally descended from Satyaloka to Bhuloka, Narada Muni, Prince Priyavrata and Swayambhu Manu came forward to offer him objects of worship and to praise him in highly qualified language according to Vedic etiquette. At that time, Lord Brahma, the original person of this universe, felt compassion for Priyavrata and looking upon him with a smiling face, spoke to him as follows. So we are now hearing how Lord Brahma will address Priyavrata in tomorrow's shloka. Yeah. And here is a description how Brahma appears on the scene there. And as Prabhupada mentioned in the purport, the fact that Lord Brahma came all the way from Brahmaloka down to this planet Earth indicated it was a serious matter. Because although Swayambhu Manu, he's a Manu, a very powerful being, and he ordered his own son Priyavrata, you should now accept the duty and rule the universe. He declined. He didn't want it. He just wanted to continue his meditation. So then, if there is a conflict between two, then you need a third person coming in, either some higher authority, the GBC has to come, or some mediation. You have to go to ISKCON, resolve. Then Braj Bihari is coming, or Brahmatirtha Prabhu, and they do some conflict resolution. But sometimes we require a third party to kind of settle the issue here. And this is also what happened here. When I read it now, the purport, what came to my mind, also interesting, is that the point is that Priyavrata, he was, for his whole life, he was just taking up austerities and meditation and focusing on the spiritual path, nivritti path, right? And now there was a need in the universe that someone has to take up responsibility. He was qualified, so there was a need for him to take up the responsibility of leading the universe. But then along with the leading of the universe, he also should change his ashram and get married. That's kind of, why is that required? But it seems, from this story, it seems to be quite clear that no, someone who rules is a king, and a king has a queen, and they have a prince. That's just how it works. If you're a ruler, if you're in charge, if you're the head, then you also need to have family. Also, just for the simple fact that there needs to be succession. Then there needs to be a next king, and that needs to be a qualified person who takes birth in that same line. Taking birth in a family of kings, which makes sure that the person will be qualified and can become the next king. So that was kind of an issue here, because Priyavrata didn't had any inclination to either get married nor to manage anything. And again, I can relate to this, because I also didn't want to manage. And I remember, it maybe was in around 2000, maybe 2004, 2005, I was with my best friend at that time. He was a brahmachari, I was a brahmachari. We were both enthusiastic brahmacharis preaching and so. And we met in India, and we had we sitting on a rooftop of a guest house, and sunset, and we spoke very deep about our lives, and we made we both said, two things we'll never do in our life: never get married, we never take on management. 1 year later, he was married, I was temple president. It was kind of funny. So we may have our plan, this is what I'm doing, and that's what will be the Lord Brahma's speech in the next couple of shloka. If there is destiny, the Lord has some plan, nobody can actually escape destiny. You have to just follow what is meant for you. Especially some things they will just happen, And so here, Priyavrata, still he's very stubborn. He's kind of, I want to just continue my meditation. But then Brahma is smiling here. And why he's smiling? And it's actually from Vishnava Chakravarti Thakur. I'll just read his commentary also. Vishnava Chakravarti Thakur says, it should be understood that Narada had been giving instruction to Priyavrata at the time, and Manu had come to bring Priyavrata home. Lord Brahma, who was present offerings by Narada, Muni and Priyavrata, was glorious for having descended to show affection to his progeny, described profusely by performing of Vedas. So then Brahma had a merciful glance, and now Vishnu Chakravarti explains what is the meaning of that glance. And Prabhupada paraphrased it already in a purport that we read. I have interrupted his bhakti, Brahma says. Now, I have interrupted Priyavrata's bhakti, jnana and vairagya. But even in household life, may his bhakti should increase. So that's the first reason he's smiling. So you are very attached to your renunciation. But by my blessings, even you get married, your bhakti will increase further, even more. Sometimes brahmachari is very attached to their brahmachari ashram. Oh, I don't want to get married, But then actually, in their spiritual life, it helps them much more to especially personally grow, maybe even to increase their bhakti. Especially if the blessings of the senior are there, as we can see here. With the blessings of Vaishnavas, then everything can become auspicious. So he looked at his grandson with a smile. To refuse the kingdom is your stubbornness. I will make you rule the kingdom. That is my stubbornness. I will see whose stubbornness will prevail. that's Vishnu Chakravarti's. He analyzes the mindset of Lord Brahma when he comes here. So I like to talk a bit about two things. One is this inner conflict which is here about, should I enter the ashram or should I not enter? Should I take up responsibly or not? But then I also, and that I will just briefly talk about this. Sometimes this seems to be a little bit a male issue. Sometimes Vaishnavis complain, like this. The scriptures are written by man for man. Like, what's the point here? I want to get married, I want to children. Of course, there are also ladies who maybe have different desire, and sometimes, even nowadays, especially nowadays, sometimes some devotees are not sure whether they want to have children or not. But in principle, it's for ladies it's a bit more, or maybe more clear in which direction they want to go. But men sometimes a bit, they're hesitating for different reasons. And often it's maybe the wrong reasons, because they're just lazy and not willing to take responsibility. That's often the issue. Because getting married, Grihasthashram, means taking a lot of responsibility. And there's many men who are try to avoid this. And then Brahmacharya ashram seems to be a very nice way to escape. Anyhow, but in the second part I like to talk about what is the main point here, that actually when we focus on bhakti, then everything will be auspicious. But the main point is that we need to be properly balanced and properly situated in our life. That's kind of a prerequisite for bhakti. And Bhaktivinoda Thakur speaks about this in his Chaitanya Shikshamrita. So we'll like to talk about this a little bit in the second part. But let's first have the mindset of the confused sadhaka. And Vishnava Chakravarti in his Madhurya Kadambini, he describes the different stages. And when we come to the stage of bhajana kriya, which means being engaged in devotional service, and the next is anartha nivritti, when the heart becomes cleansed. But the bhajana kriya can be divided into two kind of bhajana kriya. One is anishtita bhajana kriya, and one is nishtita bhajana kriya. That means unsteady practice and steady practice. Of course, if you speak of steady practice, then that becomes the platform of nishtha, where you're actually fixed and very determined. But before that, usually we are practicing in the anishtita bhajana kriya, which means there is different symptoms which show that we are unsteady. One is utsamai, we are puffed up with enthusiasm and we think we already reached the goal, although we are just started. The next one is that we are gana tarala, that sometimes our devotion is very strong and then it's again very weak, and then sometimes we are very determined and then we are again lazy. So it's kind of thick and thin. It's like, it's not very stable, it goes in a different direction. And there is then is this vyuda vikalpa, which means one is indecision, one does not know what one should do in life. Then there is the struggle, the battle with the senses. There's different urges, and sometimes we are able to control our senses, and the next time we fall victim. We can't. We just have to just surrender to the urges of our senses. And then there is, what else is there? Then there is this inability to follow vows, or also that we take too high vows, that we like, I will chant now 32 rounds every day. I mean, we can't actually do it. And then the last thing is that we ride on the wave of the benefits of devotion. When we practice devotional service, bhakti, then we get some benefits, and then instead of focusing on bhakti, we start to enjoy bhakti. Enjoying bhakti is another sign of unsteady devotion. So, but this vyuda vikalpa, which is the third symptom of unsteady devotion. There, the mindset is this uncertainty. Should I go in this direction? Should I go in that direction? And in principle, it can be true for any phase, any aspect of life. Vishnavacharya Thakur takes the example of the question of the Grihastha ashram or renounced ashram. In which direction should I go? But it could be applied to other questions in life also, like should I stay in the temple? Should I stay outside of the temple? Should I do some study or should I do some work? Should I live in India? Should I live in the West? These are all basic questions which determine our life circumstances. And Viravikalpa means we are very unclear what we want to do. And because of the unclearness, because being unclear, our mind is disturbed. And because the mind is disturbed, we cannot focus on bhakti. That's why it's a symptom of unsteadiness. So Vishnavacharya Thakur quotes different shlokas. And he kind of explains the mindset of someone who is unclear. Shall I just remain at home happily in family life, making my wife and children Krishna conscious and worshipping the Lord? Or should I give them all up and go to Vrindavan to perfect myself by engaging full-time in hearing and chanting with no distraction? Shall I wait till the last stage after enjoying all sorts of pleasure and having finally understood the whole material world is simply a forest fire of affliction? Or is it better that I renounce right now? So you see this thing? There's kind of a clear understanding of Shastra also, like, okay, family life can be good, it's Krishna conscious. I have a duty there, I make my children Krishna conscious. And then also, I first engage in some enjoyment, so that at the end of the life, when I'm older, I understand, yeah, it wasn't so good at all, but I went through it, now I can peacefully renounce it. And that's often a concern, there is such desire in the heart, so much urge, then better we, have some, enjoyment in our life in a regulated way, and then at some point we become detached. Whereas if I renounce prematurely, then I may be alone, but then inside I still always think, maybe I missed something, maybe I should have gone through this experience also. And that can be great. But sometimes also the question is, so maybe I should renounce right now just by the strong weapon of, transcendental knowledge, just cut through all the knots of attachment and just be fixed. So then he gives different shlokas. I'll just read, don't read all of them, just some. Should I thus give up unreliable family life while still young? On the other hand, is it not proper to renounce immediately? Shouldn't I wait till death of my old parents before renouncing? Alas, my parents are old and my wife is with a mere infant in her arms and other young children. Without me, they will have no protection and will suffer unbearably. How will they live without me? So that's why I can't renounce. And beside of giving up family life in an unsurfeiting state, his mind will constantly dwell in family life even after renouncing. Being unsatisfied and always thinking of his family members, he dies and enters the darkness of ignorance. So, by such statements of the Lord, I can see that I don't have the strength for renunciation. So for the time being, I'll just work to keep my body alive. Later, after satisfying my desire, I will enter Vrindavan and engage in worship of the Lord 24 hours. But then he reads another shloka. Yat yat ashram agat sa bhikshu shutat tatam. In whatever ashram the sannyasi stayed, he always got more than enough to eat. In the life of a renunciate, there is no worry for maintenance. So maybe I should renounce. But on the other hand, he brings other reasons. So in this way, the mind spends vacillating between life of renunciation and household life, considering the different options. This is called Vyuda Vikalpa, or extensive speculation back and forth in this or that direction. So, of course, in this story, Priyavrata was kind of not so much going back and forth, but he actually was fixed that he wants to remain renounced. he was kind of fixed, I want to remain renounced, but here Brahma comes and tells him, well, you should take up the responsibility. And in the last class I gave, we spoke about this point, about accepting the instruction of higher authorities and receiving their blessings, and then by their blessings acting in the world, but not being from the world, in the sense of you may act in a Krishna conscious way, then you are not affected by the result of actions. Now, but the main point is here that wherever we are, or whatever we do in life, we should be properly situated. And from that platform we can practice Krishna conscious. Bhaktivinoda Thakur, he sings, Gai Gaura Madhura Sware, Griye Tako Vane Tako Sada Hari Bolo Dako, Sukhe Duke Bolo Nako, Vadana Hari Nama Koro Re. Saying that Lord Gaurasundar sings in a very sweet voice, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna. Whether you are a householder or a sannyasi, constantly chant Hari Hari. Do not forget this chanting, whether you are in a happy condition or distressful one. Just fill your lips with the Harinam. Kriya Dako Vane, Dako means whether you're in a house or whether in a forest. In any case, just chant the holy name. That's what you have to do. That's your business. Your business is Krishna consciousness. You are bound up in a network of Maya and are forced to toil fruitlessly. Now you have obtained full consciousness in a human form of life, so chant the names of Radha Madhava. Your life may end at any moment and you have not served the Lord of the senses, Rishikesh. Take this advice of Bhaktivinoda Thakur, just once relish the nectar of the holy name. Just once relish the nectar of the holy name. Because if you once have tasted it, you can't give it up and you will always chant. So what I found interesting this morning, sometimes Shastra is very alive and just speaks what we need to hear. This morning we read, someone remembers what we read this morning from the Nectar of Devotion? I'll read it again. Yeah, because it's matching very much. Let me see whether I can find. Yeah, this one. The target of these activities, however, is always the Supreme Personality of Godhead. As confirmed in Bhagavad Gita, He is a supreme enjoyer. So whether one is a Brahmana or a Shudra, one has to satisfy the Supreme Lord by one's activities. This is also confirmed in Srimad Bhagavatam by the verse which reads, Everyone must be engaged in his particular duty, but the perfection of such work should be tested by how far the Lord is satisfied with such activities. The injunction herein is that one has to act according to his position, and by such activities one must either satisfy the Supreme Personality or else fall down from one's position. So the key point is be properly situated and then please Krishna. That's the whole idea of one ashram, and that's the whole idea of Krishna consciousness. But yeah, I mean, to please Krishna is always the main essence, the main duty that we have. But then in order to properly please Krishna, we also need to be properly situated. And there is a famous purport by Srila Prabhupada. I will read this and then we talk a bit about Bhaktivinoda Thakur's comment on different needs of the self. So Prabhupada gives a famous purport in 8.2.30, which is the story of Gajendra. This is a Tad Gajendrasya Manapalyashasam Kalena Digrena Mahan Abhutvaya Vikrishyamanasya Chale Visadato Vipraya Yobhut Sakalam Chalokasa. Thereafter, because of being pulled into the water and fighting for many long years, the elephant became diminished in his mental, physical, and sensual strength. The crocodile, on the contrary, being an animal of the water, increased in enthusiasm, physical strength, and sensual power. So this is part of the Gajendra Moksha Lila. We all know the story, right? The elephant Gajendra is in a river and then getting attacked by a crocodile. And then they're fighting. It's described for thousands of years. They were fighting in the water. And of course, finally, Gajendra is, picking up some lotus flower and remembering prayers from previous lives and offering prayers to Lord Vishnu. And Vishnu appears, cuts off the head of the crocodile and delivers Gajendra from this difficult situation. And but what is described in this shloka is that, you know, there is two powerful animals. One is the elephant, one is the crocodile. But here in this, they're fighting with each other. But the crocodile is more powerful and more strong than the elephant. Why? Because they're in the water, and the water is the element of the crocodile. If it would have been on land, the elephant is much stronger. You know, elephant is a very, very strong animal. Nobody actually can defeat an elephant. And the elephant just crushed the crocodile on the ground. But because they were in water, like somewhere in a river, it was the element of the crocodile, and therefore the crocodile was more strong. No? It's described here that the elephant became diminished in his mental, physical, and sensual strength, because it was not his proper environment for him, whereas the crocodile felt. So Prabhupada gives it's a 1-2 page purport, but it's a very important one. Just read it. In the fighting between the elephant and the crocodile, the difference was that although the elephant was extremely powerful, he was in a foreign place, in the water. During 1,000 years of fighting, he could not get any food, and under the circumstances his bodily strength diminished, and because his bodily strength diminished, his mind also became weak and his senses less powerful. The crocodile, however, being an animal of the water, had no difficulties. He was getting food and was therefore getting mental strength and sensual encouragement. Thus, while the elephant became reduced in strength, the crocodile became more and more powerful. And now Prabhupada explains what we can take a lesson like from this pastime. And it's interesting how, when Prabhupada writes these purports, or rather speaks them, that's also part of the Bhakti Shastri. When we study scripture in a systematic way, we have this mood and mission, understanding Prabhupada's mood and mission through the books. So here we can see one of Prabhupada's mood and mission, because whatever he writes, it's actually also influenced by his experience, right? He's a human, he's a person, he makes experiences. And now this is 8th canto, this is towards the end of his manifested pastime here. And there were many difficulties with sannyasis. Prabhupada gave many young men sannyas, and many of them fell down even during Prabhupada's time. So Prabhupada addresses this. Now from this we can take the lesson that in our fight with Maya, so Gajendra is fighting with the crocodile, we are fighting with Maya. So in our fight with Maya, we should not be in a position in which our strength, enthusiasm, and senses will be unable to fight vigorously. Our Krishna conscious movement has actually declared war against the illusory energy, in which all the living entities are rotting in a false understanding of civilization. The soldiers in this Krishna conscious movement must always possess physical strength, enthusiasm, and sensual power. To keep themselves fit, they must therefore place themselves in a normal condition of life. In a normal condition means in a natural condition. When what constitutes a normal condition will not be the same for everyone, and therefore there are divisions of varnashram, brahmana, kshatriya, vaishya, shudra, brahmacharya, grihastha, vanaprastha, and sannyas. So there's different life situation, different phases in life according to our needs, and what is normal for someone is maybe not normal for another one. So we have to find our place in that. And then Prabhupada gives the example or makes the point of sannyas, that especially in this age, Kali Yuga, it is advised that no one takes sannyas, ashvamedham, gavalambham, sannyasam palapatrikam, devarena sutadpatim, kola pancha vivarjadit. Brahmavaita Purana. From this can be understood that in this age the sannyas ashram is forbidden, because people are not strong. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu showed us an example in taking sannyas at the age of 24 years. But even Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya advised Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu to be extremely careful, because he had taken sannyas at an early age. For preaching, we have given young boys sannyas, but actually it has been experienced that they are not fit for sannyas,
There is no harm, however, if one thinks that he is unfit for sannyas. If he is very much agitated sexually, he should go to the ashram where sex is allowed, namely the Grihastha ashram. That one has been found to be very weak in one place does not mean that he should stop fighting the crocodile of Maya. One should take shelter of the lotus feet of Krishna, as we shall see Gajendra do, and at the same time one can be an Grihastha if he is satisfied with sexual indulgence. There is no need to give up the fight. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu therefore recommended stane siddha shruti gatam tanu van manubhihi. One may stay in whichever ashram it is suitable for him. It is not essentially that one takes sannyas. If one is sexually agitated, he can enter the Grihastha ashram, but one must continue fighting. For one who is not in a transcendent position to take sannyas artificially is not very great credit. If sannyas is not suitable, one may enter the Grihastha ashram and fight Maya with great strength, but one should not give up the fighting and go away. And of course, Prabhupada is focusing here on sexuality and sannyasi, but as we know, that's not the only reason why people enter the Grihastha ashram. It's mostly emotional need. That's mostly, because we are just human beings and we need some intimacy and we need some, friendship. That's the main reason why people get married. Because in Krishna consciousness, sex life anyway doesn't have so much space. I mean, this to some degree, and that's also up to the individual. But it's more about that friendship which is most important. So, but the point here is that if we are not properly placed, if you're not properly situated, then we become weak. We lose enthusiasm. We are not, not spiritually not strong, and then we easily fall victim to Maya. That's why we should be properly situated. And then there's different ashrams, different varnas, and we should position ourselves accordingly. And for me also, my personal realization is that whatever decision you make, there is always a price to pay for. When I became a brahmachari, I thought I will be a brahmachari. There is no question for me to change the ashram, because the price which one has to pay in the Grihastha ashram is much too high. Because I like freedom, independence. I don't want to be bound up with a family, like to share your life with someone else. What do you think? Should we do this or that on the weekend? Dear sweetie. No, I just do what I want. I don't ask anyone. And if you have a family, you even have more people to take care and ask them. You have to share your whole life with a whole bunch of people. No way. So that was very clear for me. That's why it was kind of. So I felt this price is very high, so I can't pay it. But it took some years, then when I came in a kind of a midlife crisis, when I all of a sudden started to question everything, when I realized, well, to be a renunciate, you also have to pay a price. It's not that you pay only a price if you enter the Grihastha ashram, because to be alone for the rest of your life, without having that emotional support, without intimacy, that's also hard. You also give up something which maybe a part of you still would have some desire for. So you pay a price anyway, which direction you go. And that's just part of life. And then the most important, you have to take responsibility. Either you go this or that direction, you always have to take responsibility. Because by taking responsibility, we can grow as a person. And that's very much needed. Now, Bhaktivinoda Thakur also speaks on this topic. I tried to find the exact quotation, but then I didn't have time to get it. But basically, Bhaktivinoda Thakur says that the self, the Atma, and then as we know, the word Atma can be understood in many ways. It can mean the soul, but it also can refer to the body or even to the mind, to the self. So Bhaktivinoda Thakur says the Atma, there is two needs for the self. One is a physical need, one is an emotional need. And then he speaks about, the physical need. There is different needs that we have physically, and there is emotional or intellectual also needs that we have. And Bhaktivinoda Thakur makes a strong point that if these physical and emotional needs are not taken care of well, one will not be able to do bhajan of Lord Hari, because the mind will not be able to focus on Krishna. So as simple as that. How can you, focus, chant Hare Krishna, Hare Ram, but then you're constantly disturbed because you're not happy? You need to have some foundation. So Sacinandana Maharaj took up this point from Bhaktivinoda Thakur, and he developed this, what he calls the Tree of Life. Have you heard of the Tree of Life? No? Okay, it's a nice picture. Okay, you have a tree. Jai Jagannath Baladev Subhara Shishigone Taigi Jai. So a tree has roots, has a trunk, and has a crown with branches, right? So there's basically these three main elements of a tree. And the roots stand for your individual spiritual nourishment, your spiritual well-being. The trunk, the Stamm, represents a supportive lifestyle for your physical and emotional well-being. That's what we're talking about. Having a strong foundation. That's a supportive lifestyle for your physical, emotional well-being. And then the crown is my contributions to the welfare of others, my social contribution. Because, we're not meant to just practice the spirituality and be well situated and just for our own, but when we also should share our gifts with others. And we are living in a society where we interact with others. And the crown produces leaves and fruits which others benefit from. The leaves, they give shade to people who take shelter under the tree, and the fruits are there. People can get nourished through the fruits. So I think that's a very nice pictures. And basically, when we look at balance, which is it's a major issue also in today's world. People always speak about work-life balance, and it's a big challenge. I think in Germany there is 4 million people suffering on burnout. It's a lot, so it's a big issue. People are they can't find balance in their life. They're working too much or getting stressed. And also as devotees, it's important to find that balance. So this module of the root, trunk, and the crown, if we basically, sometimes we should, there is a checklist. Those who are maybe I can post it in our WhatsApp chat. There's a checklist. You can ask yourself questions, and I will post it. You can get the questions from the chat. But it's some questions to reflect whether I'm balanced, good situated. So for the roots, the spiritual nourishment, we can ask ourselves, do I feel spiritually nourished and connected? It's a good question, no? Sometimes we should, from time to time, should ask ourselves, do I feel spiritually nourished? Because if I'm not spiritually nourished, I have a problem. We need to be spiritually nourished. It's very essential, it's very important. And if yes, then how can I maintain my state? How can I make sure that I remain spiritually enthusiastic? And if not, where I've been neglectful, and what can I do to nourish myself spiritually? Then another question, what time of the day and in what space do I have my spiritual practice? Is my setting favorable to be in the present moment? Or do I may have to rearrange my schedule or environment to create a sacred space? Of course, for us in the temple, it's easier because we have the proper time, Mangalarti, Brahma Muhurta, proper place, temple room. How often do I read spiritual text or hear lectures about self-development? Do I further reflect on what I have read and heard and not forget, do I apply what I have read or heard? We may say, yeah, every day I listen Bhagavatam. Fine, you listen Bhagavatam every day, that's very good. But have you ever reflected on what you heard? No, like, I just hear it, it goes in and goes out here. Sharara Vidyacha, let's take breakfast. Or do I actually, during the day, today's lecture, this was spoken about, how is it relevant for me when we talk to someone? And then how much do I apply it? So these are 3 questions for the root, to be spiritually nourished. Then the trunk is the lifestyle, physical and emotional. So do I feel physically and emotionally nourished? I'm healthy? Do I feel strong? Or do I constantly feel tired? That's an issue for devotees usually. They're always tired. And emotionally, I feel empty, I feel lonely, I feel unsatisfied. If yes, fine, let's continue with what is nourishing myself. If not, what are the reasons for being unnourished? What do I do to stay healthy in terms of exercise, diet? Do I get enough sleep? And what is enough? That's another question. We have to question ourselves. Prabhupada says 6 hours, 6 hours. But is it, according to my psychophysical nature, is 6 hours enough? Some of us need more. What would be my ideal life look, and what steps would I need to take to achieve that vision? What are the areas in my life I need to focus on to most right now? So, how would a perfect life? And that's sometimes good. Sometimes for example, once I made a list. This is how my perfect week would look like, and it's very nice. Then I have the morning program, very fixed chapa, very good, strong morning program. Then I have plenty of service during the day, and then the later afternoon I go for swimming. And the other day I read, I spend an hour reading in this book I wanted to read for so long. Then I meet some friends the other day. Like the week looks so nice and so balanced. If I would live a life like that, I certainly would be very happy. But unfortunately, reality looks often different. And I do this service and that service, too much stress, and then now I have to answer this mail, I have to do this, and then I work till 9 o'clock, I can't sleep because I still why did this person send me such a message? Then I get up, I'm tired because I come too late to Mangal Arati, because I didn't have enough sleep. So, sounds quite familiar. I'm preaching to myself here. So what would an ideal life look like, and how can we make steps towards that ideal? And then the crown. Am I thinking and acting for the welfare of others? Or has my world shrunken so that only I, me and mine is left? If I feel that the need to expand my consciousness, then how may I act for the benefit of others in a way that I feel acquainted at the moment? In which way do I feel that I inspire others? How would I like to further develop in these areas? Sometimes it may help to seek advice from friends. Are my current engagements suited to my skill set? In what way could I contribute further with the skills that I have? How could this be facilitated? What are the steps that I need to be taken? So that's a question of, do I also contribute something? Do I help others? Do I serve others? Do others have benefit from my activities? Like the whole day I do so many things. Have others a benefit from it? If someone cooks a Rajbhog offering, then this is his personal devotional service, but so many people have a benefit because there's a nice feast at 1 o'clock for lunch. So that's a very nice service. You serve directly the Lord, you cook for the deities. At the same time, you also serve all the Vaishnavas. They become very pleased by the wonderful cooking. So, but we have to check the service that I do. Is it also pleasing to others? And what else can I do? Or what skills do I have that I could engage in the service of the Vaishnavas? And what is also my mindset, my meditation? Do I think about how can I, be compassionate? How can I help others? How can I support? Or it's only about me, I need to be, my spiritual progress, my well-being. I need to feel happy. More paneer for me, and less service for me, and more, I don't know. But so that's a consideration we should also ask ourselves. So if you do that analysis, that check my roots, my trunk, my crown, my spiritual nourishment, my physical and emotional well-being, and my contributions, then we can, have a more balanced life. And then that means we are well situated, and from there, of course, and that's the ultimate goal, as we just read from the Nectar of Devotion, then we want to please Krishna with the activities. That should be the main goal. Then, once we are nicely situated, then we want to please Krishna. And if we do that, certainly our life will become perfect. And Priyavrata is just now will be convinced by Lord Brahma because he says, don't worry, even if you change ashram, by my blessings you will continue. So that's another thing, we should try to engage ourselves in the best possible way. But then sometimes there is also a need. There may be a need arises. And also sometimes we have a certain idea of what is good for us. Like my idea was to spend the rest of my life in the jungle of Orissa. That was my idea. I go to the jungle of Orissa, ring the bell, and worship the deities and study scripture, and I will be peaceful. That was my plan. And then making spiritual progress, become a sadhu, and then, attain perfection. But Krishna's plan was different. Krishna's plan was that I become a manager in ISKCON Zurich. And so sometimes we have a certain idea on how we may want to, but then if the seniors give us some direction, we can also have trust and faith. And in retrospection, I can see actually it was a good decision. I think as a person, I could grow and learn much more with this responsibility if I would have just hide myself in the forest of the jungle of Orissa. Because most probably this is what I did the past lives. Just hiding somewhere, doing bhajan. and several astrologers confirmed that in many lives you were hiding. This life, Krishna puts you in the spotlight. You don't want it, but it will happen. You will be completely in the center of attention. So then we have to accept, okay, what to do. So that's why, as I mentioned in the last class, I can very much feel with Priyavrata. Although I'm also stubborn with the ashram, so I still remained brahmachari. And it's interesting, in ISKCON, in the early days, Prabhupada actually only had grihasthas as GBC members. With that understanding, if someone is a manager, it's better he's well situated with the wife, gets emotional support, he can manage. And those who are renunciates, they should focus on the spiritual activity, because in order to renounce, you have to be spiritually strong. In order to be spiritually strong, you need to have a deep practice. And if you get entangled with all the management, then you lose your spiritual absorption, you lose strength, and then you fall in Maya. That's usually what happens. That's why to do both, to be a renunciate and to management, is a risky path in some way. But then on the other hand, Prabhupada saw that the sannyasis were quite powerful preachers, and people would listen to them, and then Prabhupada, okay, let's the sannyas become GBC. And he even turned some of the grihasthas into GBCs, into sannyasis, to manage. So Prabhupada adjusted then also. But yeah, it's a controversial topic. There is many different opinions on that. As many people think that sannyasis and gurus shouldn't be GBCs. What to do? Okay, any comments or questions from your side? Yes.
Thank you, Kaliksha. I want to add something and ask you a question. And I remember Srila Prabhupada, he described Chanakya Pandit, and he say, if you're thinking eat or not eat, not eat. If you're thinking merit or not merit, merit. It's if you ask this question, it's some answer. Yeah, and another point, I remember a story, we all know this story, Bhishmadeva and Parashurama.
Mm-hmm.
One lady fall in love in Bhishmadeva, and she wants to marry on him.
Uh-huh.
He won't become brahmachari.
Yeah, he had that vow. Yeah,
yeah. And Parashurama, and she told this desire to Parashurama, and he told him, "You must marry on her." No, I don't want to marry. And okay, let's fight. Yeah. And they are fighting, and Bhishmadeva win. And he say, "Okay, you can
remain."
Married. So what is because sometimes in Shastra we see some
so that
opposite.
yeah.
And so what is
okay, thank you very much for bringing that up, because we emphasize one should listen to these seniors, and the seniors tell that if you should get married and you should follow the senior's advice and there is a need. But then you bring another example where actually Bhishma fought with Parashuram and
it's completely how it's possible.
Yeah. I mean, therefore it is. I heard. I never read it somewhere, but maybe that's the reference actually from the Mahabharata. Could be, but it's that there is this saying that whatever the spiritual master tells you, you have to follow. I mean, that's why you accepted him as your guide. But there is one thing you can say no, and that's when the spiritual master tells you should get married. You can say no. You heard that also? Yeah. That's the only instruction that you can reject is that one, which is interesting. So yeah, but then of course if you do that, then you have to be really, determined, and you have to do it proper. You should be very pure then, otherwise you get into trouble.
And question. Should we cultivate renunciation, or it's becoming naturally when we just...
Yeah, that's also an interesting point. Yeah, the relation between renunciation, knowledge, and bhakti. In it says that jnana and vairagya are byproducts of bhakti, or they're also compared to like children of bhakti. There's the story also there in the Shastra. So basically, and Srila Rupa Goswami describes this in his Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu. He makes the point that some renunciation often can be helpful, especially in the beginning. If you take up devotional service, you have to renounce, maybe your attachment to your old friends or some old habits you have to give up. So then some spirit of renunciation might be very helpful there. But the problem is if we continue to give a special focus on the renunciation and give a lot of emphasis on the renunciation, then there is the danger that our heart becomes hard. That one becomes very dry inside. And bhakti is just the opposite. The whole process of bhakti is to soften the heart. The heart should become more and more soft. But then sometimes we see some renunciates, some sannyasis sometimes also have become very hard in their heart. And that's not the idea. So therefore, and the other thing is when we focus on bhakti, then jnana and vairagya, they naturally follow. It's just it just comes naturally with the advancement of bhakti. Then the renunciation will naturally be there also. So there's no need to too much focus on it. Of course, we have some rules, regulations, we have some guidelines that we follow. But then just by developing more attachment to Krishna, we naturally become more detached from matter. Yeah, we could say much more on that, but that would be a separate class.
Because sometimes some devotees have wrong understanding of Yukta Vairagya, and they just enjoy and say, this is Yukta Vairagya.
No, but that's also, Prabhupada makes very clear, Yukta Vairagya needs to be done under the guidance of the spiritual master.
So what is qualification to really follow Yukta Vairagya?
The qualification that you do it under the guidance of Shastra and Guru. And Prabhupada says, a sadhaka, especially a neophyte devotee, cannot really discriminate, for it will be very difficult to understand how to do it. That's why you have to take the guidance of seniors. Because in the name of Yukta Vairagya, we can do all kind of nonsense and say, oh, it's Yukta Vairagya, we just engage it in Krishna's service. But is it actually service? Or is it just adjusting for my sense gratification? That's the question. Is it service to Krishna? Is it my motivation to please Krishna, or is my motivation to please my own senses? That's basically the question you have to ask yourself in Yukta Vairagya. And it's interesting. Also in my own life, I had this experience because as a young brahmachari, I joined here. Then I went to India. I lived 1 year in Orissa, the place that I wanted to live the rest of my life, and I stayed there. And then when I came back, and I had this association with these Indian brahmacharis, some devotees, like there was one brahmachari, he would only wear old, worn out clothes. His dhoti had never holes, and he would not put something else, and everyone sleeping on the ground, and quite an austere, simple life in India as a brahmachari. So I came back in that mindset, and then I remember I went to a festival, Simhachalam. I saw one brahmachari with a digital camera. I was like, oh my God, is he in Maya? He has a digital camera, How can he, he's a brahmacharya. How can he have such an expensive technical device? It's like for some Maya. That was my understanding, Then only later I realized, well, of course nowadays I have this, iPad and iPhone, and that can be like a little extreme understanding. We have to give up everything. We have to live like yogis and so. But no, we can use it. We can use this, all these things. But then again, the question is, do I take pictures of the ladies dancing in the kirtan, and it's for my own sense gratification, or do I engage this camera in the Lord's service? That's the question.
So it must be some part from renunciation to yukta vairagya, because when neophyte devotee, he just want to enjoy any way. So if, for example, you show your example. First of all, you accept this renunciation, your.
Yeah, it's in some.
And then you can use.
Yeah.
Because you have this renunciation.
Right, I agree with you. There needs to be some entrance level of renunciation in the beginning, and then you practice Krishna consciousness in a renounced way, and then you start to engage things in the Lord's service. But some renunciation needs to be there. Otherwise, if you're a bogi from the very beginning, how do you know how to It's yukta. It's vairagya. It's not yukta boga or something. Yeah. Any questions from your side? Any comments?
Yes, I have one.
Yes.
I
Yeah.
don't know about the time.
Yeah. You can ask one. We can do one more. Then I.
So, yeah, it was a very wonderful class. Thank you so
Hare
much.
Krishna. Welcome.
And you were mentioning that we have to stay in a normal state.
Yeah, that's Prabhupada's word, normal.
Yeah, but we also know we have to be in the stretching zone all the time.
Mm-hmm.
And I was thinking about Keshav Raj, he would say, we have to become comfortable with the uncomfortable, and how to find this balance is
Well,
so difficult.
Yeah. I mean, there is this notion of we should be properly situated in normal life, and then in regards to service, it's also Maharaj makes this point. We should do some service, which is needed. It's just required. Institution required someone to clean the pot, so you just do it. Then you do some service which you really like. You love to do this service because it's your talent. You're an artist, so you're asked to paint something. You do it, you like it, and then you should take some service which is a challenge, which challenges you, and that's the kind of service which helps you to grow spiritually. So, and if you have these three kind of services, then you're always healthy. It's a good balance. You do something which is needed, you do something you like, you do something which stretches you. And we shouldn't just stay in a comfort zone, but we should. But there is three things. There is the comfort zone, there is the stretch zone, and there is the stress zone. And if we're in the stress zone, then it's not healthy, then we burn out. The stretch zone is okay, we can do a little extra. But then again, going back to the normal state, balancing, a little stretch back to normal. But not the stress. That's often misunderstood and we burn out. And in regards to being comfortable with the uncomfortable, I think we don't have to endeavor separately, but life will throw so many uncomfortable situations to us. We get plenty of chances to learn how to deal with the uncomfortable situations. Yeah. Hare Krishna. Where are you from?
From Atlanta.
Atlanta, okay. Hare Krishna, welcome. Yeah, we'll just end here. Grantaraj Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai, Srila Prabhupada ki jai, Jai Gaur Premanande, Hari Hari Bol.
His Grace Krishna Premarupa Dasa.
Jai.
Gaur Bhakti ki jai.
These questions are
छोटंसं मंदिर आहे तर मोठं नाही मंदिर. आणि त्यात प्रभुपादांची मूर्ती. मी जस्ट मंदिर दाखवायला म्हणून फोन केला. मला आठवलं की काल फोन करायचा होता मला, पण ते काल आम्ही ते तुमचा क्लास होता इथे गीताचा, त्यामुळे नाही करता आला म्हणून आत्ता केला. करते आपल्याला काम. एक खटखट या हे बघ. मंदिर दाखवायला